OpenAI just handed every single paid ChatGPT user a free computer with 15 gigs of RAM that runs on the cloud. And this got me thinking, Claude doesn't have that. In fact, I've been using Codex for a couple months now, and I've noticed quite a lot of things Codex can do that Claude simply can't, like state-of-the-art image generation or instant response voice agents. And this kind of got me thinking, what other things can Codex do that Claude can't? Now, this led me down quite the rabbit hole, and one of the first things I noticed was that Codex has skills. Actually, Claude has skills too. Yeah, I'm actually aware of that. In fact, I've made a bunch of videos on Claude skills before that have helped hundreds of thousands of people. But the difference between Claude skills and Codex is how natural they feel. Like, take a look at this. When I was planning what to talk about in this exact video, I collected a bunch of tweets of random Codex use cases I found interesting. In fact, the Codex community has a whole website dedicated to this exact thing. When I was done, I shared it with Codex and asked it to generate a script. Now, the script wasn't very good. Claude Fable is way better at writing tasks, but I want to see if you can notice what happened. See, right there. Did you catch it? Codex looks at my prompt and autonomously through its database finds the right skills to tackle this task. I haven't installed any skills into Codex, yet it's found two separate skills to help me with this task. One of which was Agent Reach, a skill that recently went so viral it got over 60,000 GitHub stars and became the #1 trending repository in the world for a single day. A skill so good, in fact, that I ranked it the #1 most useful skill in my homies video. Sorry for the spoiler if you haven't watched it yet. Now, if you don't know what Agent Reach is, it's actually really cool. It gives your agents access to websites like X and Reddit that would usually require a paid API key. It does this through a variety of methods, and if something gets patched, it autonomously switches to a backup it's already found. Codex, without me installing the Agent Reach skill, looked at my prompt and correctly judged that it needed this skill and proceeded to use it to view the Twitter links in my prompt. Now, it's worth mentioning Claude was able to view the links in my prompt as well, except it had to take control of my browser to do it. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, that actually is pretty cool. No one cares, because we gotta talk about pets. Codex has pets, like real Tamagotchi-style digital pets. There's 9 unique pets you can choose from. I really like CD. He's my goat. But if you don't like any of these and you're feeling brave, you can actually create your own. Codex will then, based off everything it knows about you, create a custom character. I actually tried this myself and Codex made me a furry. Geez, thanks, I guess. There's better ways to use this feature though. Like this guy Tasia gave Codex a few photos of his cat and Codex built him a little desktop pet version of his actual cat. Damn, that's way better than my furry. And these guys aren't just for decoration. The pet tells you what your agent is actually doing while you're off in a different app. So if your pet is sleeping, for example, it means your agent is actually idle. But if your pet is doing stuff, it means your agent is cooking. It's like a Tamagotchi that tells you when your code is done. Is it useful? Well, yes and no. My chat loves it when I'm live streaming, but I found it can get a bit distracting and find myself having it off more than not. But it's just really cool to see Codex lean into these weird, quirky features that only a small portion of their users would actually appreciate. I really feel like they're trying to build a community around this tool. On the other end, Claude has a spinner. A spinner, guys. It's a pretty nice spinner though. Yeah. Anyways, it's time to talk about ChatGPT Sites. And I need you to understand something. This is not a website builder. Well, it is, but there's so much more to it than the name implies. When Codex builds you a site, here's what you're actually getting. A real database so your app can remember users and store their stuff, real file storage, a vault for your secret keys so your API passwords aren't just taped to the fridge. These are all things that your app needs in order for them to go live. And speaking from experience, setting these up, connecting Cloudflare to Stripe and Stripe to Supabase can actually be really hard if you don't know what you're doing. And ChatGPT Sites handles all of this. You describe the app, it ships the app, sign-in works through ChatGPT accounts. You don't even touch the scariest part, which is the OAuth, in my opinion. One of the partners of A16Z prompted it to build a GeoGuessr style game where you play against AI models. It built the game, hosted the game, wired up the logins, locked up the keys, all inside a single chat. That post got over 100,000 views and every reply was some version of wait, it hosted it as well? Yes, it hosted it as well, and you can even add custom domains to it. I'm sure that everyone watching this has a note on their phone with at least $1 million app idea just rotting in it. The distance between that note and a live product with real users used to be months of work and thousands of dollars. It's now a single conversation. I'm definitely going to be using this feature to share more of my smaller vibe coded project with you all, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, but where does it even run though?
That's actually a great question, because every one of these sites is running on the thing I told you about in the very first sentence of this video. The free computer. Remember what I said at the start? Every paid ChatGPT user now gets a full virtual machine in the cloud. And a virtual machine, or VM, is exactly what it sounds like. A whole computer that lives in a data center instead of your desk. And the specs are pretty crazy. 15 gigs of RAM and 9 cores. It has its own browser and it can install whatever packages it needs. Now, if you're like me and you're on the Pro plan, you'll get an extra 5 gigs of RAM. That's roughly the same amount of RAM as this Mac Mini. I mean, considering how expensive RAM is, I'll take whatever I can get. And I guess now we know where it all went. To put this in perspective, renting a server with the same specs could cost anywhere between $20 and $50 a month, plus a headache when you're setting it all up. Now it's just included. And there's actually a lot of benefits to this, because when you close your laptop or maybe your Wi-Fi dies, Codex will still continue to work in the cloud on its own machine, not yours. The possibilities are literally endless. Someone challenged Codex to run a smaller AI model inside its own VM. The catch? Network was restricted, so it couldn't download the model. Should be impossible, right? Codex built its own network proxy, downloaded a small open source model called Gemma, and had it running in 14 minutes. An AI ran another AI inside of itself. Talk about AIception. And once your agent has its own computer, it stops needing yours. Eventually, it'll probably stop needing you as well. That's kind of dark. Okay, so far we've talked about things that Claude doesn't have. Now let's talk about ChatGPT Work, their Claude co-work competitor. I'm going to share with you some pretty cool things that people are doing with it, and let's see if you can notice anything different. All right, so first up we have watching an inbox twice a day and flagging when Amazon packages land, okay? Babysitting a StockX bid, interesting. Drafting replies to emails that would have been missed. Checking finances every single day and flagging anything weird. Planning workouts, logging them, then cross-checking them against their health data. That's pretty cool. Hunting Airbnbs with its own remote browser, then building the Google Doc of trip options and sharing it with your mates. Finding a tax accountant and booking the appointment. Rebooking flights when the schedule moved. And this is all just one person, by the way. He literally gave ChatGPT Work full control of his life, and he did it all from his phone. You can see how having its own cloud computer is starting to come in super handy, right? Like, one of my favorite ways to get people obsessed with Codex is to get it to unsubscribe your mum from marketing emails. It connects to Gmail, then crawls the whole inbox and hands you a list of trash. It takes a couple minutes, and now everyone at the family dinner will announce you as the guy who's good with computers. I clicked like 3 buttons, guys. Come on. Claude can do pieces of this with connectors, but it relies on your computer being on, and the mobile app is more confusing than helpful. The packaged phone first, switch it on and forget it version your non-technical mother can use, that's a Codex thing. Also, that like button costs you nothing, but it means the absolute world to me. I make videos like this every single week, testing this sort of stuff with my own money, so you don't have to. Subscribe if you want to see more of me. Yeah, I'll pass. I wasn't talking to you. Okay, next we need to talk about remotion. Well, you know, and I ain't talking about that Claude remotion. No. Disgusting. I'm talking about Codex remotion. For those who don't know, there's a really cool tool called Remotion that makes videos with code. Every slick animated explainer you've seen on YouTube, the moving charts, the sliding text, someone either paid an editor for that or wrote code for it. People have now connected Remotion straight into AI. Now, this already has been widely known in the Claude community, but connect it to Codex and this thing is a completely different beast entirely. Don't take my word for it. Ex-Google researcher Julia Turk swears by it as well. And it makes sense. ChatGPT's image generation is the best in the world right now. Pair that with a tool like Remotion and you can create beautiful visuals. Claude literally can't even compete. I mean, it can. You just need to give it a ChatGPT API key. But image generation seriously gives Codex an unfair advantage. And it's not just videos either. There's a free open source plugin called Codex Slides that turns basically anything, a repo, a PDF, a messy brain dump, into a full animated slide deck. And I mean, the results are honestly breathtaking. As someone who makes videos for a living, this tech stack has been a game changer for me. And speaking of game changers, we need to talk about Codex auditing your code. You see, there's an open source Codex security plugin. You point it at your code base and it can build a threat model, map attack paths, literally holds your hand and shows you, here's how someone can break into your app. Then it writes fixes, tests the fixes, and exports a proper report to GitHub, Jira, Linear, or Sarif, which is the file format security tools use to talk to each other. Completely free and open source, by the way. Now, if you tried to get Claude Fable to do this, you'd have a big error message and FBI tracking your whereabouts. That's actually a safety feature. Yeah, sure it is, buddy. I know half of you are probably vibe coding your own apps and shipping them to real users. So point this at your own code base and see what it comes up with. Now, as a non-technical person myself, I am very reliant on AI doing the work for me. This reliance has honestly made me pretty good at using these tools. After over 80 straight days of live streaming my vibe code until I make $100,000 challenge, I can confidently say that. But I'd be lying if I said I knew what the agents were actually doing behind the scenes. Asking my agent to fix a bug does not mean I know what the agent has actually done to fix it. That's why I got pretty excited when I saw this button, pull request. It's actually a really neat way to keep track of what you're building. And if you're a non-technical person like me, if you click on a task, it gives you a full summary of everything the agent has done in plain normie English. What the Vibe coders no longer need to be vibing completely blind because we can actually see in plain English what it is we are doing now. All right, it's time we talk about one of the most obvious ones on the list, voice mode. You see, ChatGPT's live voice mode works with Codex in a roundabout way. You open voice mode on your phone, chuck it in background mode and go for a walk, and you just talk. Ramble about your idea like you're on the phone to a mate. Then you get home, open Codex, hit the @ symbol, attach that voice thread, and boom, your entire rambling walk is now the plan your coding agent executes. What's also really neat is that dictation in the Codex iOS app keeps recording even when the app is backgrounded. So you can actually poke around on your app for 10 minutes going, okay, that button's cooked. Why is that there? Flip back and see the whole rant as one single task. Because let's face it, your best ideas do not come to you when you're sitting on your desk. They happen on walks, in the shower, or in the car. With ChatGPT's live voice mode, you can capture these thoughts as they occur. Now, Claude has a voice annotation feature too, but it forces you to stay on the app, and their voice agent technology is still miles behind OpenAI. The ability to have an agent reply to your question in half a millisecond makes the conversation feel natural and helps keep you in that flow state. That's actually pretty cool. Well, if you thought that was cool, let me tell you about Codex's tidying capabilities. Take a second to look at your chat sidebar right now. It's a graveyard of old tasks, right? Good luck trying to actually find what you're looking for. Now watch this. I'll just go on Codex and you can set up a little automation, kind of like a scheduled task in Claude Code, and boom, every title updates to describe what's actually happening inside, with an emoji showing the live status. The automation runs every 20 minutes, updating my threads and organizing them. How clean is that? But you know what? It doesn't even matter if your threads are messy because ChatGPT's dynamic memory is so good that the walls between your chats are starting to matter less and less. Claude has this too, but I've been using Claude for longer than Codex, and in a shorter amount of time, Codex has picked up way more about me than Claude ever has. So those are all the things that Codex can do that Claude can't. And if you're wondering, yes, I'm still gonna keep both of my subscriptions. So we still want that? Well, if you wanna know why I'm keeping my Claude subscription, then watch this video here where I make Claude and Codex build the same app and compare the costs. I'll see you over there. Peace.